Hello. 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 Hello.
So good evening, people. We'll be starting with the session in a very short while. I think one of our guests is already here, Mr. Ramanathan, the Mission Director, Atal Innovation Mission. So Rakshaji, please unmute Ramanan, sir. Namaste, sir. Thank you so much for joining.
Hi. How are you doing?
We are good, sir. Thank you. So we're just waiting for some more people to join in, and we'll be starting in just a couple of minutes.
Sure, sure.
So Raksha ji, you can even cast the session live on Facebook.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, people, for joining in. We'll just be starting in a couple of moments. So people, we have, I think both of our guests are here. Ramanan Ramanathan sir is already here, and Dr. Vishwajit Saha has also joined the call. So we're just waiting for a couple of minutes. So Raksha ji, please unmute Saha sir. So namaste sir, welcome.
Namaskar, namaskar. Namaskar, Raman.
We're just waiting for some more people to join in, and we'll be starting sharp at 5. So just a couple of moments of.
Sure, sure. No problem.
Okay. So just to explain the format to you, so we'll be starting with a small introduction that I do of the whole plan and of today's episode and what we have done till now. And then we'll be moving ahead with the first address of Ramanan sir for 5 to 8 minutes. Then we'll be moving to Dr. Vishwajit Saha, then Professor Ujjwal Chaudhary. Then we have already received a lot of questions from the principals who are participating. So we'll be asking some of those questions to you. And then we'll finally go to a small panel discussion on the topic for today.
Okay.
So we'll just be starting in a couple of moments.
Sure, sure.
Thank you for joining, people.
promote.
So, good evening, people. All the people who have joined in, I would request, please mute your audio so that the disturbance on the call can go down. And we have amongst us the guests for today. So before we start, I'll give you a small introduction of what we've been doing and where are you today. So first of all, namaste. I am Daksh. I'm the founder of Blub World magazine, which works on the simple focus of teens inspiring teens. We try to find out teenagers who are doing great work and sharing their inspiration to other teenagers. Till now, we have covered nearly 300 such teenagers from across the world. And from time to time, we try to create industry white papers on K-12 education sector, which is typically schools. So as a part of that research initiative, since the lockdown began, we started a very small activity, which we never thought would actually blow up to be this big. But it turned out to be great. And that was the Blub World Web Talks. And today, I'm very happy to welcome all of you in the 50th episode of the Blub World Web Talks. In the last 49 episodes, nearly 400 plus school leaders have participated from 70 plus geographies from across the world and shared their views with us on the first topic that we had, that was no lockdowns on learning. And we published a white paper in the last month or the last edition of the magazine. And then the topic changed. And we are right now going on the discussions on that topic of the future teacher or the teacher's future. And we'll be publishing the second white paper in the coming month. But today, for this 50th session, we actually have some amazing guests with us. And we have a very, a kind of a weird topic, or you can say a bit of a quirky topic, which is, will innovation be the only education? Because after talking to these many people, what we could understand as a publication or as a media house, or as an observer even to the industry, it was very simple, that whatever we learned, we had to unlearn. Whatever we are thinking of learning or whatever we knew, we had to relearn. And a lot of things were absolutely new to us. And the kind of pace of change was something that couldn't be easily matched. Because technology changes at a pace which we cannot even imagine. And just to give you an understanding, this session will be in bilingual, so you can use Hindi as well as English. So for the Hindi guests who are here, नमस्कार, आप सभी का स्वागत है इन द ब्लब वर्ल्ड वेब टॉक्स 50th एडिशन। अभी तक हमने करीबन 400 स्कूलों के प्रिंसिपल्स, प्रधानाचार्यों से बात करके वी हैव हैड अराउंड 100 थॉट्स, और उन 100 थॉट्स को हमने निकाला और उन्हें पब्लिश किया, just to give you an idea of the kind of ideas that people used during this lockdown to continue teaching. There is a small place called Padua in West Bengal. They did not have good internet, so they gave a very innovative assignment to their kids. They told them that create a custom dictionary at home, add 5 new words to it every day, and bring that dictionary to school. One of the schools in Hyderabad, they told their students to enhance their interpretation skills. They started an activity called Cartoon Speaks. They told them that whatever magazine or newspaper comes to your house, cut that strip of cartoon and write an interpretation of what do you think the cartoon actually tells. There's one school that in Odisha, they started something called a wisdom diary, that every day make a list of what good did you do and what bad did you do. And when you come to school, bring that so we can judge what kind of a wisdom do you have as an individual. One school in Agra started something called racing assignments. They gave timed assignments to kids in online classes that, this is an assignment completed within the next 9 minutes. And it became a very engaging activity. There's one school that told kids to do a daily news report of their surroundings, that what was going around you. So people have been sharing some amazing ideas and have been experimenting with education in all forms and all geographies possible. And the only thing that we understood is that innovation is something that will keep you afloat, because everything else will get redundant. And when you want to continue education, you'll have to think on the curriculum, the pedagogy, and absolutely on the actual pure content that we're delivering. Because just delivering content is no more a big skill for a teacher. Technology can do that. A teacher now will have to be redefined. You'll have to think on what roles will get added to that persona that we all understand or perceive as a teacher. Because his observation skills, his understanding of the students, his perceptive analysis, this is all what will make him a teacher of the future. And the kind of classrooms we'll have, we don't know. Will they be virtual? Will they be, a mix of virtual and reality, blended learning, a lot of safety from the corona? And there are a lot of new factors that have come into education. And we're all trying to demystify them and trying to build an understanding ki ab kya hoga. But before we start, I just want to quote a very small incident that happened in the life of Chanakya. चाणक्य ने भारत को एक बार वापस से री-इमेजिन करने का काम किया था कि यस, ये इस जगह से इस जगह तक there will be something called भारत और इंडिया. And to do that he wanted the army might, कि भाई अब अलेक्जेंडर को हराना है और अगर इस पूरे देश को इकट्ठा करना है तो आर्मी माइट चाहिए. And he went to the kingdom of Magad to ask for that. And उस समय जो मगध का राजा था, उन्होंने उनका बड़ा सम्मान नहीं किया और टिपिकली बड़ा असम्मानित करके भेज दिया. और उस समय चाणक्य का एक डायलॉग था और वो डायलॉग बड़ा ही, मतलब व्हाट आई कैन से इज कि वो हर एक टीचर को अपने दिल के बहुत पास रखना चाहिए, बिकॉज दैट्स द काइंड ऑफ पावर दैट यू होल्ड विद इन योर हैंड्स. एंड चाणक्य ने उस समय एक बड़ा आसान सी एक चीज बोली थी कि शिक्षक कभी साधारण नहीं होता, प्रलय और निर्माण उसकी गोद में खेलते हैं. So you always have creation and destruction within your laps at every single point of time. So always keep in mind कि आज जो दुनिया हम देख रहे हैं और आगे जो देखने वाले हैं वो 100% आप ही लोग ड्रॉ करेंगे. So let's see what kind of imagination that whatever you shared with us, we have created a suggestive document out of it, which we'll be sharing with our speakers today for their pondering and their thoughts on it. So for today, I would now like to welcome Mr. Ramanathan, the Mission Director, Atal Innovation Mission and Additional Secretary, NITI AAYOG, Government of India. A very warm welcome, sir. Thank you so much for taking out the time and being with us. बहुत सारे principals इस Zoom call पर already हैं और बहुत सारे Facebook Live पे हम लोगों से जुड़ते जा रहे हैं अभी. So let's now hear it from you on what do you think that will innovation be the only education? Raksha ji, please unmute, sir.
Thank you, Daksh ji, and thank you everybody who is on the call. It is indeed a pleasure and a privilege for me to participate in a very interesting and a very apt session that Daksh ji has just now introduced. Will innovation be the only education? As you're aware, I'm on the NITI AAYOG. I'm in the NITI AAYOG as the mission director for a very, very important mission called the Atal Innovation Mission. It is a flagship initiative by the Government of India. It is an initiative in order to create and promote an ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship across the length and breadth of our country. This was launched in 2016, towards late 2016, and in the last 3 years, it has acquired and expanded a huge footprint in the country. And it has taken an approach which is very holistic in its nature, because innovation and entrepreneurship are going to be key not only to India's future, but to the future of the world. And so it is very appropriate today that we are discussing and debating on and reflecting on a topic which I think should be the concern of everyone. How do we, if not innovation and entrepreneurship, what else is going to make the progress of the world? And when you look at a country like India, which is 1.3 billion people, we have 1.4 million schools in our country, we have 10,500 engineering and related institutions in our country. We have over 150 million young students who are going to be entering into the workplace over the next 5 to 10 years. And we have a country which is one of the fastest growing in its economies until recently, where the COVID-19 crisis has struck us. But we are also a country with a number of challenges. 22% of our country is still below the poverty line. 44% of our country is agri-economy based. And we have a number of challenges, from clean drinking water and sanitation to waste management, to affordable housing, to electricity for all, to challenges of smart cities. We have only 8 tier 1 cities in our country. And all of you are aware of the COVID-19 crisis and how urban migration and the migrant workers have been put to enormous hardship because of this single incident. A simple virus has paralyzed our country, has paralyzed many nations across the world. It has disrupted supply chain management systems. It has created a lockdown effect in almost every country where it has struck. Nowhere has such an incident been as unprecedented and as swift in its impact as the COVID-19 crisis. But at the same time, the world today has been, I think, very lucky to be able to face this particular crisis at a time when technology is also swiftly coming to its rescue. And at a time where you are able to be connected globally to the world, as a result of which, as Mr. Daksh said, he has had now 49, or this is the 50th webinar that he is having in just the last couple of months. This sort of technology breakthrough that has happened because of advancing affordable, accessible, and available technology at our fingertips is what is causing the changes in the world, it's causing the innovations in the world. And so the Atal Innovation Mission was set up in particular to focus on this aspect. How do we create and promote an ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship so that we have thousands of innovators, thousands of new job creators in our country? We will not be able to sustain if we are not able to create a very innovative society. And therefore, innovation is not just the only education that, as the topic suggests, but innovation has to get integrated into every aspect of education, into every aspect of life, into every aspect of our society. We need to be able to create problem solvers. We need to be able to create innovators. We need to be able to create, or education should have at its core the ability to create a thinking, creative, innovative individual who knows how to solve problems. Because at the end of the day, education is all about teaching us not about a particular subject alone, but how do we leverage knowledge of that particular subject to create a betterment for society? How do you create a change to society? How do you create a positive impact, as Steve Jobs said? How do we create a ding in the universe? And therefore, the Atal Innovation Mission has launched on several initiatives. First and foremost, it said at a school level, we have to create a problem-solving, innovative mindset in our young school students. Why? Because unless they become problem solvers and innovators, unless they transform their thinking from rote learning, jo hum class mein hum get good marks, get into a good university, get good marks again, get into a university abroad, then get good marks again and go and join a job. We become job seekers. And that has been very beneficial to our country until now. But what is going to be important going from now into the future, into the world of the future, is going to be having a problem-solving, innovative mindset, which will enable us to solve problems leveraging technologies which are advancing at a rapid rate. You see, you have technologies like 3D printing, which is revolutionizing the way manufacturing is happening. You are able to design, conceptualize, and create a product right in front of your eyes using 3D printing. And it could be in a small kirana store, it could be in a 3D printer at your home, or it could be a 3D printer in your school. You are having now robotics, which is changing the way automation and productivity is being enhanced. You are having cloud services, which is enabling you to reach to any part of the world, from anywhere. So the most distant of districts, we are a country with 600,000 villages. We have 733 districts, out of which we have 115 aspirational districts. And these are the districts which are in the bottom of the pyramid. We want to make sure that every student, every human being in every aspect, in every nook and corner of our country, be it in a hilly district, coastal district, or in a rural district, has access to the best of education, the best of medicine, the best of ecosystems for innovation and entrepreneurship, and the best of opportunities for job creation as well as job seeking. So you need to be able to create 100 or 200 smart cities which can become hubs of innovation, hubs of entrepreneurship, hubs of job creation. And then you will have this problem of this urban migration being addressed. Otherwise, you'll never have this problem being addressed. And therefore, we have launched thousands of what are known as Atal Tinkering Labs in schools across the country so that our young students from grade 6 to grade 12 get an opportunity to design, learn, tinker with the latest technologies like 3D printers, robotics, IoT devices, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality, do-it-yourself kits. And they acquire a problem-solving mindset because we encourage them that just see the problems in and around your community. And how can you solve the problems leveraging this technology? And soon they learn how to put together a solution by huddling in groups, by learning communication skills, by acquiring leadership skills, by acquiring technology problem-solving skills, by acquiring research skills. You have to do research, and technology enables them to be able to access the finest materials in the world through the internet or through digital transformation to enable their innovation come to life. And then at the university level, we are launching hundreds of incubators. These incubators will foster thousands of startups. Atal Innovation Mission has already launched 100 incubators across the country, out of which 70 are operational, and more than 1,500 startups have come into being, have sprung into being into the last 3 years. Now, why do you need incubators? Because when a student who is an innovative, talented student goes from the school to the university, he needs an opportunity to exercise his creative genius in order to be able to create a startup and follow his passion. Unless you have a world-class incubator in your university, you are not going to enable that innovation of the young student, the creative mind, to find expression through a startup, through a product that he can create, through a problem that he or she can solve. And then at the community level, because India is such a diverse country, and this is also a problem across the world, many of the unserved, underserved regions of our country don't have access to innovation and don't find the benefits of innovation being applied to their part of the world. So we are setting up hundreds of what are known as Atal Community Innovation Centers. And these community innovation centers will become the hubs of innovation. They will not only help to convert Jugaad innovation. There is a lot of Jugaad innovation, as many of you know, in many of our rural communities, because they are very practical innovations to solve their problems. But how do you take a Jugaad innovation and convert it into a systemic, reliable, scalable, technology-driven innovation? And that is what these Atal Community Innovation Centers will do. And not only that, as the innovation gets developed somewhere else for some other community, and if it is applicable to your community, then that innovation can get applied here in these Atal Community Innovation Centers. The fourth thing is, so you have first an innovative thinking and mindset being created in schools, in the millions of students through Atal Tinkering Labs. When they go to universities, they get an opportunity to create startups and become entrepreneurs. And then when they go out into, if they are from a rural India or if they are from the tier 2, tier 3 cities, they have an opportunity to innovate and apply their innovations in the community innovations. But it's also important for us to be able to tell them what are the challenges that we have. India is a country of 1 billion people with 1 million challenges. And these million challenges are million opportunities for innovation. So we need to show them and share with them challenges so that the products and services can be created which can have social impact or economic impact. And that is why Atal New India Challenges are launched along with ministries. 5 ministries have already partnered with us. We have launched 24 challenges, more than 950 innovations were received. And now we are funding them in order that they can be converted into a commercially deployable innovation. And finally, for the MSME industry, 70% of our industry is the MSME industry. So how do we ensure that the MSME industry flourishes and how Make in India becomes a reality? To make that, we have what are known as ARISE, Applied Research and Innovation for Small Enterprises. And finally, to make all this to come together, it is very important that academia, industry, corporate, private sector, and public sector institutions join hands. Otherwise, innovation is not possible, entrepreneurship is not possible. India is one of those countries where 70% of innovation is funded by the government and only 30% is funded by the private sector. We need that to be reversed. We need 70% to come from private sector and 30% to come from government, because every country, every industry, every entity should realize that without innovation, they will not be able to make an impact. So with this, I will pause at this point in time. The key thing is innovation and entrepreneurship is the way of the future. And unless you integrate innovation in your thinking, in whatever you do, whether it is in school education, university education, industry education, you're always in a learning mode. And so innovation and learning go together. And if your learning doesn't incorporate innovation, then you're not going to make the necessary impact for the world to become a better place.
Thank you so much, Ramanan sir, for sharing those amazing thoughts. So actually, innovation in every aspect of life, actually teaching kids how to think, problem solving, and the most important element, that telling them how is knowledge leveraged to become something sustainable and substantial and which can change the society around you.
Correct.
So
in fact, I forgot to mention that during our education of innovation, we ensure that every student's innovation is aligned to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Because the knowledge of SDG is so important. Today, look at the COVID-19 crisis. This is just one crisis that has struck us. But there are 17 different UN SDGs. And these 17 UN SDGs, each of them, if not addressed, can be a disaster in the future. And therefore, every innovation that we do, even commercial innovation or societal innovation, has to address one of the SDGs or more of the SDGs. And that knowledge is getting incorporated in our young students at the school level. So if you go to any adult tinkering lab school student, they will find that they have to know about SDGs in order to innovate. And this knowledge of all of this coming together is so key for innovation to be effective and to have a positive effect.
Absolutely. The purpose of the innovation should be very clear and very positive, and towards a community growth target where everybody grows simultaneously. Collateral damage ki jagah collateral growth ho.
Correct.
That everybody comes together in it.
You have to bridge the digital divide.
Yeah. Absolutely. It bridges that digital divide. And at school level, जो एक बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज है कि आपके पास जो बच्चा है उसका अभी भी वो ब्रेन डेवलपमेंट की ऐसी स्टेज में है कि इफ यू इंट्रोड्यूस हिम टू द राइट प्रोसेस ऑफ थिंकिंग, तो शायद उसके लिए वो जीवन भर के लिए बहुत इंक्रीमेंटली गजब हो जाएगा. And that will change his whole mindset and thinking for his life. So before we go into the discussion, let's first hear it from Dr. Vishwajit Saha, Director Training and Skills, Central Board of Secondary Education, Delhi. So he's the person who's typically responsible for skilling in schools. So let's hear it from Dr. Vishwajit Saha. Sir, over to you.
Namaskar. Good afternoon to all of you. I think Ramanan sir has nicely focused upon actual requirement of innovation and how it is going to help us to address all problem of life. So of course, taking his idea, I will just try to focus upon the implementation aspects. So first of all, innovation is a key for life or key for education systems. Is baat mein, I think nobody will going to disagree. But we know these things. Our principal, our teacher, our all educationists, industrialists, sabko ye malum hai. But even then, why we are not trying to break the existing systems? So for that, education, if we really try to improve, overnight disruption is not welcome. But definitely, a gradual change will help. And for that, we need, first of all, courage. That courage is the only component I would like to urge all the school leaders or all educationists who are attending this session. The courage, first of all, you have to embrace the courage to accept that innovation is the key. And all ingredient and recipe are very much with you, nothing new. So if we look into the primary classes, middle level classes, or gradually come to the secondary and senior secondary level, the basic fundamental trust we are giving in the education systems, it is completely based on the assessment or examinations. Of course, the job of CBSE is definitely to do that only, assessment or examination. But to really focus upon innovation, the school-based assessment, which our principal, our teachers are really empowered with, they are actually, they have to have that courage to innovate. And they are already a great leader and great innovator. But only thing is that if that courage is there to implement in the day-to-day affairs of the school systems, I think that would fundamentally give a seed for changes. So my humble request to all the school leaders or educationists, that courage will help you to bring the changes in the classroom. The second option is, of course, the collaboration. Now, as CBSE introduced the concept of hub of learning, there basically the idea was how to collaborate with X schools with Y schools, how there is a coherent inclusiveness between the school, between the student, between the school management, and between the community. So innovation, this particular keyword, can be discussed in a different domain. Not only it is limited to the curriculum transaction, it can be, is a word for discussions in a gossip also. Now, how to bring that changes in the system? So be it a extracurricular activity, whether it is sports, whether it is art integrations, or anything related to the school curriculum, there, if we really want to focus on innovations, there are huge rooms are lying vacant. Only thing is that we have to enter and we have to also open the mind of our student. So there, it is highly possible to give a key ingredient for innovation for future development. Now, these particular situations, especially this COVID-19, has given us a challenge one way, and other way is again, I am coming back to the same word, the courage, for the purpose of enhancing creativity. So one is the routine job, what our teachers used to do earlier. Now, they have embraced the technology in hand, and they are doing their classes, online classes or digital education, whatever. But besides these, the internal thrust is the creativity, which again, the second ingredient of our innovation journey. So if this, we are really interested to give or to empower our child to face any sort of challenges, then we have to help them to enhance their creativity level. And that is again possible if we are coming out for the routine rigidity of the curriculum transaction. Only if we measure the children with respect to the boundary of syllabus, then I think we are doing a wrong journey. And that itself is some way stopping the innovation in the classroom or innovation in the future journey or future growth of the child. Ramanan ji has rightly touched upon the concept of entrepreneurship. So for entrepreneurship, we really need the creativity and courage. Without these two ingredients, the entrepreneur journey is a highly impossible one. So my humble submission to this group and those who are listening to other way, that again and again, we have to have built up ecosystems in the classroom that and empower our children so that they are individual thought are really focused in the classroom discussions. Not only the school or college responsibility is not only to complete the syllabus and preparing them for the examinations. So if we really want to empower, so innovation is the keyword, or innovative process in the regular activities undertaken in the school systems need to be trusted, and then only it is possible to imbibe situations, an atmosphere or ecosystem through which we can again and again empower, not that rudimentary approach of what we are doing or decade-old approach, which traditionally we are believing and trying to replicate the same things again and again. So that empowerment is need to be given to the teachers by the school leader or school management, or ultimately that you have to pass that empowerment process within the children mind, and then only real things will happen. And the last point I want to touch upon, that is collaborations. And here the Atal Innovation Mission has given a light to the school. So innovation, otherwise this word was only a dictionary word, or maybe some of the school leaders are definitely trying to implement in their educational process. But this mission given a thrust to how to collaborate with the industry. And not only that, here, wherever the ATL lab is there, why it is restricted to a particular school? So the neighborhood concept, that hub of learning concept need to be extended, no matter whether it is a CBSE affiliated schools or state board affiliated or state run or privately managed. So the neighborhood community need to be, to get a easy pass to the ATL lab wherever it is, so that some kind of beyond the school hour concept need to be evolved, where the concept innovations, entrepreneurships, and other skill building affairs can be discussed beyond the regular school hour, and then over a period of time there would be a empowered citizens for not only for our country, and who can really serve the globe as an individual leader. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing an absolute approach to actually how to implement innovation and how to get innovation out of students. Where we can how I can crystallize it is that you are actually enabling the school to do a lot of assessment on his own. Second, the hub of learning or collaboration between the schools, the community, and everybody coming together for learning and for innovation. Creativity enhancement, because this is something that has become a super critical skill now, because what we can think or understand right now is creativity is the only thing that keeps you better than tech. And if tech can do something, it's not worth learning, because let tech do it. So always judge things on a simple barometer, that if this skill can be done by tech, don't learn it. Go beyond what tech can do. So creativity is something that always keeps a human better than tech. Second, then sir said about change in the assessment mechanism and the kind of learning that we have, because abhi actually exam based learning hai ki padhna isliye kyunki exam pass karna hai. तो उस approach से actually पढ़ना इसलिए ताकि you can do something great for yourself and for the people around you is where we need a big mentality or understanding change. अब वो कैसे system में infuse होगा, introduce होगा, that's something that we need to talk on. Empowerment and finally collaboration. अब जब collaboration इतना आसान हो गया है और इतना जल्दी लोगों तक पहुंचना has become super easy. In the last 49 episodes, we could never imagine that more than 70 geographies will participate. जिसमें India है, South Asia, London, US, पता नहीं कहाँ से we've had school leaders coming in, and which was never possible before. So moving on to the next speaker, let's now listen from somebody who has a good understanding of education and the media aspect of it. And the reason why we have invited him is very simple. कि the kind of teacher that we need in the future, उसका जो definition है वो केवल education वाला नहीं होगा. उसमें थोड़ा सा portion entertainment चाहिए, थोड़ा सा education चाहिए. Typical edutainment चाहिए because बच्चा engage नहीं होता. और virtual medium पे तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं होता. So how do you keep that kid engaged with the kind of knowledge you have? So let's hear it from Professor Ujjwal Kumar Chaudhary, who's the Pro Vice Chancellor of Adamas University and the former Dean of Symbiosis Institute of Mass Communication and Whistling Woods. Over to Professor Chaudhary.
Thank you. That's Namaste, Dr. Ramanan. Namaste, Dr. Vishwajit Saha. Dr. Ramanan, we were together in the jury of Adobe National Creative Contest. Good to see you again here. And Dr. Saha was my guest in one of the webinars, very successful webinars till recently, where he focused on school education of the future. Thank you for inviting me, Blub World, Daksh, Aditi ji, and Veena ji for inviting me here. The few points that I would like to share, there was an Anandabhajar program, so I was a bit late. I could follow Dr. Saha. I'm waiting for the interaction with Dr. Ramanan a little later than this. The few points that I would like to put forth in the context of what Govt told me as invitation, as introduction. We are moving to not a digital education, not a physical education, but physical plus digital. I would not get into which percentage of what, that depends on which level of education, which subject, which focus areas. But we are moving to a physical plus digital. Second, we are moving to a scenario where the concept of teacher and student, traditionally as we know, is going to be completely obsolete. It is not a teacher that we need anymore, because teacher cannot teach anything in the digital world where most of the information the people would anyway have, the people would anyway know from the digital world. So we are moving to a world which is of a mentor, and a mentor and teacher differ on many fronts. I would only mention one or 2 points. Teacher introduces the topic and gives the last word. Mentor motivates the learner towards some topic or some theme, but does not speak the last word. He aggregates educational resources from various places. The resources can be from any place that he would like to. And he aggregates, and thereby he aggregates and brings those content before the learner in various form. It could be YouTube links, it could be PDFs, it could be PPTs, it could be his own video. It could be also case studies. It could be many other sources that he brings before the learner. So mentor is also an agony uncle and an agony aunt. Mentor and teacher differ in spirit and operations. Similarly, the student concept will also go away in future. The student studies in the classroom. A learner studies inside and beyond the classroom. A student studies with a fixed syllabus. The learner of the new digital world would be utilizing the structured syllabus to start the journey, but would not limit to that syllabus. It will be learning organically. He will or she will be learning organically, and the mentor has to support that organic learning. So someone can go beyond the syllabus on certain topic or certain domain of his interest. A student learns for marks, grades, and degrees. A learner, these marks, degrees are all byproducts. Learner learns for lifetime use of it. A student learns largely from books and teachers. A learner learns through experience, through online and through offline. So experiential brick and portal. So this is the new scenario of the teacher student changed into mentor and learner. Third point, largely in our traditional education, there was a sense of discipline, there was a structured learning, and therefore the imposing personality of the teacher in the physical space brought in a sense of discipline and sort of an imposition. Today, we are moving to conscious learning, active learning, or voluntary learning. And that's a risky thing also, because whether the student is learning or not in digital means, sometimes you would not be sure. And he's right, Daksh is right, unless you make the education entertaining as well as educative. So therefore the new word, edutainment, education plus entertainment, and hence video, hence infographics, hence podcast, hence PPTs, hence color, and these have to be brought in. Hence multiple people discussing something, and more participative education, not unidirectional education. And therefore, we are moving to a time where active, conscious, or voluntary learning will be necessary. We are also moving to a time where you need to tell the learner, after you give the all study materials in various format, interesting format, in advance, the learner comes back to class, and the learner you discuss group discussions, peer discussions, doubt clarifications, all that in the physical space you do. Then the learner has to be given creative content creation. The same topic, if it is, suppose yesterday was Environment Day, biodiversity is the topic, the learner can go back and create content, audio, video, infographics, any form of content, mix, multimedia, convergent, the content. And this creation of content would be a critical part, because moving ahead, artificial intelligence will do all the repetitive work which human beings used to do. So human beings have to learn, or our children have to learn how to do creative work, because creative solution, innovative solutions, this cannot be done by the machines. Machines cannot innovate. Machines cannot bring out a new way of doing it. Machines cannot create. And hence, there has to be human training on innovations and creativity. And as Dr. Biswajit Saha has rightly told in our last webinar on education, which we had organized, OLabs virtual lab and virtual studios would be critical. Many of the 60% of the practical work can be done through OLabs, virtual studios and virtual lab. For the remaining 40%, actual laboratory and studio would be required. Every school and college gradually has to move to learning management systems. Without getting into detail, every school can or college can or university can have their own customized learning management system from A to Z of the entire learning experience. We have taken Tata Consultancy Services, TCS Iron, and everyone can have their own choices. As Dr. Saha has just now said, hub of learning will be another critical point. A private school or a private university or a well-endowed government school or university can be a hub of learning, supporting other schools and colleges in the vicinity for that. And last point that I will say, Roti Kapda Makan, Shiksha or Swasth. These were considered to be 5 elements for a dignified life. The 6th element is now here, and that is digital access. And digital access will be almost as important as Roti Kapda Makan, Shiksha and Swasth. And without digital access, the economically divided society will be further worsened with digital division. And I would urge upon the government through Dr. Ramanan, who is a part of the advisory, the major visionary advisory body NITI AAYOG, I would urge upon the government to enhance investment in digital technology or digital infrastructure of the country. It is time now to make Digital India a reality in the full sense. 2.6% or 2.5% is the education budget of the country. If we double this and this additional money is completely put forth in digital technology creation, then we will reach the unreached. As once upon a time, many boys and girls were given cycles on passing class 10. Some governments started giving tabs. We need to give pods or tabs now once again. As sometimes the government even gave television set in the Panchayat Bhavan. We need to give now computers and digital access in the Panchayat Bhavan to begin with. There are many other ways by which digital access can increase, but digital access going ahead would be compulsory. Please remember, one girl student of class 9 from a poor family has committed suicide in Kerala because she was unable to do online education and online tasks because of the non-availability of the infrastructure. Going ahead, this infrastructure would be required. But because this infrastructure is not with many people, does not mean that we don't bring advanced technology learning or phygital learning for the people who can afford. So both have to go, excellence and access, both have to go hand in hand. On that observation, I'll take a break. Thank you, Dr. Govt, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ujjwal sir. The actual phygital classroom, learning for a lifetime, because a learner will, have a perspective of a lifetime, won't have a perspective of an examination. And the brick and portal approach, where there'll be something in the class and something on the portal, and training of teachers and 40% actual labs. So we have actually got 3 perspectives on the topic today. The first one being very dedicated towards innovation. The second one based on a bit of skills and based on a bit of experience on the kind of assessment that we have. And third on the engagement part of it. So before we move on to the next section of the discussion, or the next section of the discussion is typically to understand your opinions on, first from Ramanathan ji, that we know that innovation should happen. We know that it will happen through technology, through labs, and through a lot of different modes of competitions and a lot of initiatives that you're already doing. The biggest problem a school typically has in India is a lot of regulations, a lot of compliances that come into play. So what are you doing, or what would Atal Innovation Mission, help schools in actually either, going off with compliance, finding a way where compliance goes low and execution goes up? So what do you think, or what kind of suggestions do you think that these people should follow, and what can they suggest to you, to the government of India? So over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Daksh. And it was fascinating to hear both Dr. Saha as well as Dr. Professor Ujjwal on the topics. I just wanted to add a few things based on what they said. I think Dr. Saha referred to 2 very, very important parts of education. And one is, how do you ensure that young students become courageous? Now, when you're talking of courageous, it's not physical courage alone. It is the courage to follow your passion, your mind, your heart, and for society also to get the courage to encourage them. It is the teachers also have to get the courage, the parents have to get the courage, the students have to get the courage, because students having the courage and all the parents and the teachers and society and principals saying, no, this is not what you should be doing. You should become an engineer, you should become only a doctor, you should become only a medical practitioner, because these are the job, earning thing. That is no longer true today. Today, you can excel in any field, you can make an impact on any field, and there is economic prosperity in every field that you can take on. So you have to allow every student to develop that courage of entrepreneurship, the courage of being able to pursue their dreams and follow their dreams. As Abdul Kalam said, dream big, you'll achieve great things. Dream small, you're going to achieve small things. So that is one. The second is, the schools have to give, when you're talking about education, it is not a subject knowledge that you are transferring. You are transferring the ability to be creative and to use that knowledge to be able to build something further. Just like you use technology to go into a next level of education and next level of capability, so also all the school subjects that you learn should enable you to become more creative, to apply that knowledge in real life, to be able to see how that can, where you can innovate, where you can become now the instrument of improvement for the rest of the world. And innovation is becoming the instrument of improvement. You see something, you ride on the shoulder of giants, as Isaac Newton said, and then you already have technology which has come to this point. You look at the world around you, you say, hey, what is missing? What is the problem that is still not being addressed? Why is there so much waste management on the city? Why is there traffic management problems? Why is it that, the disabled people or the Divyangjan are not getting help? Why is it that the girl student is not getting the access? So when you look at all these problems, you say, I have to find a solution. And there are many solutions that you can apply technology to and innovation to. The third thing that came out, which was very important, is for the teachers also to understand how do you build this, detect this innovative capability and talent. What is happening in our schools, you give every student a grade, a mark, and then you start judging the capability of the person by that mark. Every student is a born innovator. Nobody taught us how to walk. We just stood up, fell down, stood up again, fell down. Every time we stood up and fell down as a small child, we innovated. Nobody taught us to speak. You saw the world around you. You saw every lips moving. You saw words coming out. You heard, you made patterns. You connected the patterns together. You innovated. You started speaking, and now you can't stop speaking like me. So, that's the way we innovate and become. So this born innovation capability is there in everybody. Somewhere in our schooling system, we start limiting it. We say, hey, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. You become an engineer, you cannot think like a doctor. You become a doctor, you cannot think like an engineer. This limitation, self-imposed limitation, inhibits innovation. This is what schools should free them of. Now, what we do as a part of Atal Tinkering Labs, as Dr. Saha said, there's one more point I wanted to make, which Dr. Saha said, and that is all the Atal Tinkering Labs are accessible to all the neighboring schools. This is a commitment, that is an agreement with every school which has an Atal Tinkering Lab. So if any tinkering lab is not allowing some of the schools to leverage it, then they can write to us and we'll tell them, because we know that we have 5,000 tinkering labs today across India, across 660 districts. But we are now already got 14,000 schools who have been selected, but who are in the process of due diligence. Before the end of this year, we'll have 10,000 tinkering labs. But we have 600,000 schools. And out of the 600,000 schools, what we noticed was, in order to have a tinkering lab, we set a certain set of parameters: physics lab, chemistry lab, all of these should be there. Around 200,000 of these schools are eligible for an Atal Tinkering Lab. And the others have yet to get the necessary infrastructure, either digitally or otherwise, in order to make that Atal Tinkering Lab a success, or you should have a minimum number of students. So we encourage that all the schools should allow the 8 or 10 tinkering schools around them to have access, and almost all the schools are doing it, or and if they are not doing it, it can be brought to our attention. Now, the third thing that was very important was the mentorship part that Professor Ujjwal said, and we realized that there is this big gap between what the teacher is required to know and what the student often requires help in and understanding. So we opened up a mentorship portal. And I was really amazed to see the impact. 10,000 mentors registered onto our portal, voluntary mentors, professionally qualified. They were all BTechs, MTechs, masters, PhDs, professionals working in corporates. And they all said, we will voluntarily give 6 to 8 hours of our time, every week. Some of them said once in 2 weeks. But we said, no matter what, we need minimum 2 or 3 hours per week from you. Whatever be the time that is suitable. And we had 10,000 mentors. We have allocated 5,000 of them to our tinkering labs today. And the other 5,000, as And when more schools get added, we'll be adding them. So mentorship is very important, because as Professor Chaudhary said, how do we have the mentor and the teacher working together? See, often teacher has this domain territory thing, that this is my domain and my students, and who is this mentor coming and trying to talk. So we have to get them to engage with each other. And that is what we did. So we have a training program called ATL in Charge. All the ATL in charges undergo this training program. And this training program now, Atal Innovation Mission is leveraging digital medium very extensively. So all our material is online. And we have YouTube sessions, we have interactive sessions, we have Facebook Live sessions. It's a very dynamic, vibrant world. In fact, those of you, and I'm sure Dr. Saha may already have noticed, CBSE has been playing a very positive role, and Kendriya Vidyalaya, they have all been helping us in pushing this message out. How do you leverage this? Because this is an adjunct. The thing about adult tinkering labs, why it is important is, innovation is not something that can be taught. It is a culture that has to be created. And that culture is created by encouraging students to fail. As Abdul Kalam said, fail is first attempt in learning. So we have to make sure that, students look upon failure as the first attempt in learning, and in success also. There are only two things in a student's world. One is success, second is learning. And this is the message we have to give them, that there is nothing called failure. You are going to learn every time. And as Thomas Alva Edison said, there were 9,999 times I realized how to not to do the light bulb. Okay. So in each of them, there was a learning, how he didn't fail. So this concept of allowing young students detecting the potential irrespective of their academic performance and finding out. In fact, in the Atal Tinkering Labs, what was amazing is that in the top 100, we run an Atal Tinkering Marathon every year. Okay. Last marathon, 50,000 students participate. Now, the enrollment ratio of girls in schools is lesser than 50%. It is close to about 45% or 30% or 35% or something like that. But in the top 100 marathon winners, 33% of the girl students were winners. And this told us a very important fact, that girl students take to innovation faster than the boys. We did some analysis. Is it like boys are dumb, or is it girls are more intelligent, or what it is, right? And then we realized 3 or 4 things. Boys are shy by nature, and in that age group, the grade 6 to grade 12, girls are more communicative. So when you communicate more, you automatically, learn more. Girls are not shy to say, I don't know something, so that they can go and ask the mentor, the teacher, and so on, so somebody can help. Girls are detail oriented, generally more than boys. So this is a great finding for us, to be able to encourage girl students to become innovators, and more girl students to become innovators. At the same time, we also realized that the boys, when you mix a team of boys and girls together, the diversity factor brings tremendous impact on that team. So there are many soft skills that we have introduced, of communication, of leadership, of working together, of collaboration, digital creativity. And then we have introduced a number of changes to the curriculum of both the teacher as well as the mentor. So there is a huge training program for mentors and teachers. Otherwise, this will not work. And finally, we have got a lot of corporates to help us. And I did want to say this. You see, in India, as opposed to abroad, many corporates don't get involved in education in a very intense way. In the US, it's a very standard thing. The alumni will go back and help the school and help them prosper and all that stuff. In India, it is still, not so prevalent, but it is increasing. So we brought corporates into the picture, and that has they adopt tinkering labs, they adopt students, they adopt mentors, they adopt teachers, they adopt startups. So this mentorship through corporate adoption can reinforce this entire emphasis. And they also realize that, hey, we didn't know so bright students are there, because these are the students who are going to come into our universities and going to come into our corporates. So binding them together. Now, in all of this, government policies is going to help. I am looking forward to the day, along with CBSE help as well as MHRD, that every school should have a tinkering lab or access to a tinkering lab. Every school. That there should be no student who does not have the opportunity to unleash the creative potential in them through the tinkering lab. where you don't have the pressure of an exam. You don't have the, and that's why it is, I would say it has been successful, because students come there with a sense of freedom that, let me go there, learn something, do something, create something, go and show to my parents what I've done and so on. Second is, we want schools to encourage parents to come and see all the innovations. Only if they see that, then they say, oh, my daughter has done this, let me encourage her on her way. When she goes and says, I want to become an entrepreneur, let me not stop her. Otherwise, society, my father and mother did not allow me to go into business or entrepreneurship, because that was not the societal way of thinking. They said, join the Tata Group. I joined the Tata Group. They said, you can join the government, and I joined the government. Both I have done, right? But today's world, you can become an entrepreneur, and the risk is very less, and you have a lot of support. This is what in the educational system, policies, enabling infrastructure, and enabling empowerment of the teacher and the principals is important, so that they can, push students to become innovative and become problem solvers. And that is the main purpose of education. At the end of the day, we should know how to face this COVID-19 crisis if it hits us. And education should have empowered us and enabled us to think our way through of how to solve such a problem.
Absolutely. But a बहुत important factor that I can actually take out from your complete interaction and ask a view from Dr. Vishwajit Saha is कि एक इंडिया में बहुत बड़ा स्टिग्मा ऑफ फेलियर है, और वो स्टिग्मा ऑफ फेलियर बाकी हर चीज के लिए डेटरेंट बन जाता है कि कोई नई चीज में वेंचर नहीं करना चाहता. And when it comes to an assessment body like CBSE, तो the biggest brand image that you have is of fear, because you are the one who's going to take that examination. So वो एक fear factor के को कम कैसे करेंगे? So what should actually be done, और स्कूल को या बच्चे को इंडिपेंडेंस का एटलीस्ट एक सेंस आए? So what do you think will happen? Because आप जिस डिवीजन के अंदर है CBSE के, वो अपने आप में बहुत इनोवेटिव है, वो अपने आप में स्किल्स ड्रिवन है. So what do you think that you'll do to actually diffuse that fear factor?
Yeah, so I think endless discussions we can do, but again go back to the actual reality. Fundamentally, we are trying to encourage the child to write the exams and preparing them to score good marks, so that it is again geared because of the university admission. So now from classes 1 to 12 is one journey, and another journey is university admission systems. So my humble submission, I am taking this perspective in a different way. So one way, people may think that the Central Board of Secondary Education, ICSE, or state boards are creating a pressure to the child, so that for the purpose of getting good marks or choosing a right subjects. So they are creating the pressure, but actually it is not. And I am not deviating from our own responsibility. It is basically the university admission systems which rigidly compel us to offer a group of subjects. Parents are confused. Okay, if my child is not taking PCM, he may not take admission in BSc or BTech or in MBBS or law, whatever. So that rigidity is defined from the university education system. Here, I think we need to diffuse that systems. Again, because one way we are talking about creativity, innovation. So Atal Lab is giving a platform to the child to think. An interdisciplinary approach is very much crucial here. So one way we are allowing the child to think in a multidisciplinary way, or other way, we are restricting them. Okay, if I don't take physics, I cannot study BSc. I cannot take admission in engineering. Lot of engineering institutes are not able to complete their admission process. They go till December also to admit the student because of non-availability of students from that PCM group. So here my submission is why we are restricting, why that fundamental approach? If it is a interdisciplinary, and here the open schooling, that several university, private or government, lot of educational availability is also coming up nowadays. It is evolving area. So my submission is, if after 10+2, no matter what subject you choose, the admission possibility is there. And for that, fundamentally, again, I am coming to the basic agenda. You have to earn some credit on this subject. No matter, you will be allowed to take admission, but some kind of bridge course. So here my colleague from the higher educations, they may argue it is not possible, system may not allow. But Ujjalji, being from the university line, will endorse me, it is highly possible. Earlier also, not now. Now we are thinking of 21st century skills. Maybe in 80s, 90s also we have seen there is a concept of bridge course. So by means of bridge course, if some subject has not taken in 10+2, some university used to offer that honors course to perform the honors course. First of all, 2 years degree course one can complete, and thereafter 6 months bridge course, and then again taking admission to the honors course. So that they can complete the honors course on the desired subject which they have not opted in 10+2. Why can't again we think in that dimension? If we look into all developed nation, they are not restricting. So innovation is possible if we think of an interdisciplinary way. Now we started offering AI, and we are encouraging that the student from this humanities background also take this subject. So, but in the university level, especially my submission is at the UG level, that they should be open-minded, so that ultimately whatever pressure or fear factors we are discussing, as a school systems, as a representative of school systems, we are allowing and empowering our teachers, principal, because it is 10+2, 12 years of education, 11 years is school-based assessment, complete school-based assessment, no fear. School is assessing as per their own parameter. They are absolutely autonomous. They can do anything, any experimentations they can carry out, so that the real potentials of child creativity blossom. Not that we are as a suppressor of marks and other ecosystems will lead to them in a dangerous zone. So here again we need to collectively, as my submission to Additional Secretary NITI AAYOG, that these agenda need to be flagged, and the entrance systems, again you see our 10+2 pass out, they are appearing, all school board pass out, they are appearing PCM in board, and again for the IIT or so-called premier entrance, again they are appearing the same subject with different difficulty level. So 10+2 NCERT syllabus is defined, learning outcomes is there. So they are achieving it, but we are not trusting them. We know you have to appear a professional entrance where BSc honors level questions will be asked, and if you only clear that, then only you will be given admission to same UG level course. Why? So here ecosystems should be fearless, and it is possible only when that interdisciplinary approach are more geared up. And I believe new education policy is coming up with that agenda. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I just want to endorse what Dr. Saha said. And I think this is, beyond even this particular conversation, it is very important that there is a dialogue happening on how do we incentivize innovation and entrepreneurship and problem-solving thinking, creative thinking. Because he's right. If you are encouraging it at a certain level, and then you find that it is not having the necessary impact at the next level of education that you're going, then it serves as a disincentive. People will start saying, okay, so what? I've become very innovative. The parent has supported, the teacher has supported. The student is really a creative student, and he or she deserves further attention in a university. But the university says, no, I'm going to only judge you by the marks that you have got. Then the whole thing becomes a disincentive. So there has to be a collaborative thinking on a new education policy, where as you go from the school to the university and from the university to the industry also should not say, the whole placement process is such a process today that again they say the best students, they look at 70% plus, and that's what they want to admit. And then, the next day is 60% plus. Why go like that? Why not have a mechanism in which you are recognizing the creative and the innovative talent of a student beyond just the marks that they have got? Yes, marks are important. Not that the marks are not important. But that should not be the only factor and the criteria in judging the capability of a student or the value that a student can bring in any environment.
Absolutely. And going beyond those marks is something super critical. And अब जो सबसे बड़ा एक प्रॉब्लम है कि पर्सनलाइज्ड एजुकेशन की अब नीड है, एंड व्हाटएवर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, ये सारी मॉनिटरिंग केवल तब आ पाएगी जब हम पर्सनली किसी एक व्यक्ति को इंडिविजुअली जज कर सकें ऑन द स्केल व्हिच इज कंपैटिबल टू हिम और हिज और हर कैपेबिलिटीज. बट क्योंकि आप दोनों ने बॉल रोल कर दी हायर एजुकेशन में, तो उज्जवल जी नेक्स्ट लेट्स हैव योर कमेंट्स की व्हाट इज हायर एजुकेशन गोना डू ऑन दिस.
Higher education has three purposes. One, which is focused on excellence. One, which is focused on mass reach. And one, which is highly vocational, which is completely oriented towards, economic use or industry use. Mass reach and industry use may be very close by, but you cannot exactly equate Ashoka University in the private sector with or let's say JNU in the government sector with a university in any place like Gorakhpur or Bhopal and all that. So there has to be a different purpose of each university. There are teaching universities, there are research universities, and there are vocational universities as well, vocational focused universities as well. So that's one thing that has to be understood. Second point, in the teaching research universities, but particularly research focused universities, innovation is a major thing. And therefore, association with industry bodies is very significant to create innovative practices, new products and services, new line of production, so and new concepts. These have to be evolved, particularly in research oriented and excellence oriented universities. All universities need not do the same activity with the same approach, and it is not possible to do that as well. So some universities will focus on innovations and research. Some university will focus on producing the talent which is required for the industry in a major way in a large number. And also the cost of education will differ from place to place, because private universities are not grant oriented and do not get grants. Yes, if they do projects, and they should be doing, they would get some corporate support, but largely they have to depend on their resources that they raise. So the cost of education will be higher there. But government education still is not so expensive. Yes, there may be a relook at that in many places is happening, but still it is less expensive. And therefore the focus here, less expensive cannot be of a lower quality as well. The focus has to be on certain other aspects. And therefore, like in developed countries, I will reiterate, 5 to 14% is the investment in education in various developed countries. Countries like, for example, Finland has as high as 13-14%, whereas all the other countries, several other countries have 5, 6, 7%. We are still below 2.5, and we around 2.5. We need to really double this expense to make the government education, particularly the public sector education, much more digitally strong and much more focused on quality. Some of the private public sector universities are doing fabulous. We know by ranking, several public universities come up very high. They are doing fabulous. Similarly, some private sector universities are not also adhering to different standards which have been brought forth. I must also note here, there cannot be one rule fits all. UGC or AICT or any other cannot have just the same pattern of rules which fits every educational institute in the country. It cannot be so. There has to be a large dollops of autonomy, and you cannot be judging standards by the size of the director's cabin. There has to be different levels of judging it. It should be judged, and also, yes, Scopus indexed articles is one standard judgment, but how many patents have the university come out with? That's the point of judgment. What is the level of the placements? That is a standard judgment. How much is the outreach program in the community and society? That's the standard of judgment. There has to be different, really productive, strong standards of judgment, and not merely, in terms of physical infrastructure or only in terms of articles written or degrees earned. So that these are some of the observations with respect to higher education.
Thank you, Ujjwal. Itne interaction ke baad, what we can understand is that at the moment we are trying to teach schools to be collaborative, to come together, but what we find right now is a big rift between the policy, between the execution, and between the higher education. So ye rift actually bridge kaise hoga? This is something that has to be thought on. But since the time is limited and we are going to typically come to an end, I would just request everybody who's here on the call, this is typically the closing statement that we're coming in with. The industry that I come from, the typical media industry, we learned convergence at a very high cost. हम अखबार थे, तो वो उससे हम रेडियो हुए, रेडियो से हम टीवी हुए, टीवी से हम फोन पे आ गए, एंड इंडस्ट्री बाय इंडस्ट्री एक बहुत बड़ा एंटरप्रेन्योर्स का यू कैन से एक बहुत बड़ा बैच हमेशा बर्बाद हो गया. एंड ओनली देन वी अंडरस्टूड कि नहीं यार ये सब एक साथ काम करेंगे, एंड देयर हैज टू बी अ 360-degree मीडिया अप्रोच टू कीप द होल इंडस्ट्री अफ्लोट. एंड आई थिंक वी आर स्टिल मिसिंग दैट इन एजुकेशन. बट यस, वी थिंक दैट सिंस यू हैव सच अमेजिंग थॉट्स एंड आप लोग खुद एज इंडिविजुअल्स are so collaborative and so have a such nice, ear to listen to others. Let's hope that we'll have a much more and a much better education system post this COVID. क्योंकि अब what we all know and what we all agree कि बहुत सारी चीजें जो हम पढ़ते सीखते समझते आए हैं, they won't exist. And to put it very simply, जब ये स्कूल अब खुलने वाला है, तो the definition of a school, the way we know it, the way we understand it, has already been obliterated. It doesn't exist anymore. क्योंकि शायद पेरेंट अपने बच्चे को वापस वैसे स्कूल में भेजना चाहेगा कि नहीं, ये एक क्वेश्चन है. स्कूल वैसे वापस चालू हो पाएगा कि नहीं, ये भी एक क्वेश्चन है, बिकॉज और बहुत सारे नए कंप्लायंसेस आ जाएंगे. बट यस, we'll be sharing some suggestions with you and we'll want your suggestions for all these principles कि अब और क्या किया जाए, because innovation is going to be there, but yes, more collaboration, and let's see if the new education policy is actually a very collaborative document which brings everything together. So I hope you enjoyed the last 20-30 minutes. If you did, please unmute your audio, say a big yes, and thank you people for joining the Blub World Web Talks 50th episode. I hope you enjoyed. And before this comes to an end, Blub World is starting a not-for-profit initiative focused on schools, which we are calling the School Skill Mission, where we'll be doing reskilling activities for schools across India, which we've already initiated. We are creating journalists across South Asia in school and typical teen journalists who can do a lot of reporting. So in the coming times, you'll see a lot of reporting coming in from teenagers across the world.
Daksh, this school skill mission is a great idea. And I suggest that you sit with Dr. Ramanan, because they have really, even with Dr. Biswajit Saha, because there will be a lot of things that the government is already thinking and doing, which can help this school skill mission. Thank you very much. It has been a very enlightening session, listening to everyone and participating. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Very enlightening session.
Thank you, Daksh. Thank you, Daksh. I am Varsha Agrawal. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to listen to such enlightening thoughts. All the best.
Thank you, Daksh. This is Sunil Patel from Sardar Patel International School for this enlightened
session. The call will come to an end. So thank you so much, people, for joining in. Thank you so much, Ramanan sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Biswajit Saha.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed.